And welcome back to part 2. Today we will finish making this baby hoodie. It's very soft. I hope you like the pattern. I love it. Okay, so at this point we have most of it made. The main part, the body, is finished. We'll just have to do a little bit of edging here, but that's pretty much it. So we are going to start on the hood now. So to start the hood, first of all, we need to figure out where you want the buttonholes to be, which side on. Okay, so usually for the girls, you leave the buttonholes on your left side, under your left hand, like I have right here. You can see my buttonholes. As I'm thinking that this is probably for a boy, I want my buttonholes to be on this side, so I'm gonna turn it inside out. Don't worry, both sides are exactly the same. It doesn't really matter which side you choose for the buttonholes. Okay, so now my buttonholes are on the right hand side. Usually this is the side on for the boys. Okay, so from now on we can start on the hood. Grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get started. So everybody wants to start in this side, the top right corner right here, okay? So make a slip knot. Connect into the very first stitch. So we will be using the leftover chains from our starting chain, okay? So there's one on top of each stitch, like this. So we will be crocheting into those. Okay, so you're gonna chain one and turn. You want to make your first row on the inside, okay? So you're looking at the inside of your cardigan. And now we're going to start making 1/2 double crochet into each stitch. Try not to miss any of them. Just go slow if you cannot see them very well. So just like that, 1/2 double crochet. And continue on. I will see you approximately here, a little bit closer to the back. So this is still the sleeve, but a little bit closer to the back, and we will do a few increases right here for the hood. Okay, so if you look really closely, you can see that this is my back. Okay, you can probably see it better on your work. So I have finished a little bit before that, and we're gonna make 6 increases, okay? Now you don't have to count, they don't have to be exactly the same many stitches apart. You just kind of want to spread them out from a little bit. So this is still the sleeve. So a little bit from the sleeve to a little bit onto the next sleeve, okay? So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and this is kind of at the middle, and then 1, 2, 3. So into the next stitch, I'm gonna make 2/2 double crochets. 1 and my second one into the same stitch. Then I'm gonna make a few 1/2 double crochets in between my increases. So I think about there, I'll make my second one. Again, 2 1/2 double crochets into the same stitch. And continue on. So I have 2 increases now. I need 6 in total. So let me see. Yes, I'll do my third one right now. So I'm gonna just use the same stitch as I have just made. So 2 1/2 double crochets there. That's 3 increases. Now again, I want to make another 3. Make a few 1/2 double crochets. Okay, so about right here somewhere into the next stitch, I make my 4th increase, 1/2 double crochet, and second into that same stitch. Again, I'll crochet a few 1/2 double crochets like this. Yes, probably right here. I'll make my 5th increase. So 1 and 2 1/2 double crochets into the same stitch, and I need 1 more. So a few stitches down. maybe one more, approximately here somewhere, I'll make my 6th increase. So into that stitch, 2 half double crochets. So at the moment I have 6 places where I have made an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I continue just with 1 half double crochet into each stitch until the end of this row. Okay, so finish that. Now we are going to start back with our pattern. So as we have done before, you're going to chain 1 to start and half double crochet into the very first stitch, and then start the pattern with the bottom loop, half double crochet, back loop, bottom and back loop. So continue on, and I will see you at the end of this row. Okay, so at the end of this row, you want your second last stitch to be into the bottom loop. Okay, so you can finish with a half double crochet. So our pattern will always work around. Now, it is coming out perfectly for me. So I have into the back loop, the bottom loop, and the very last half double crochet. Now you might have lost a stitch somewhere. It doesn't matter, do not worry about that. Now let's say if you end up making, if you just have like 2 stitches left, or 1 stitch, whatever, let's say you have a back loop, half double crochet in the second last stitch, you can just use the same stitch that the second last stitch for the second time to make a bottom loop, half double crochet, and then finish with a half double crochet, just so that our pattern works out perfectly there. Do not worry that you have like 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. That will make no difference at all. So the main thing is to finish with the back loop, half double crochet, and half double crochet into the very last stitch. Chain 1, turn around, and like I said, it starts and finishes exactly the same. Half double crochet, the next stitch is into the bottom loop, back loop, and we keep going. Now the hood is quite easy to make. We just need some time to build up the height for it. I will show you my chart, and we will just talk about the hood a little bit. Okay, so let's see. So these are this is the length or the height of the hood. Okay, so we will measure from that half double crochet row that we started on. So you can see, so from the middle, in kind of in between those 2 half double crochet rows that you can see that has no pattern in there. Okay, and we will crochet up for approximately these lengths. Okay, so for 6 to 9 months, for me is 22 centimeters in total up. Now we have to take something into consideration when we make the hood for this hoodie. Okay, the thickness of the stitch, it's actually quite thick, and plus we have the hood that is rolling back, so we're losing a little bit of height because of that for the hood. So what I'd say, keep going for now with this pattern for approximately the same length or a little bit longer than this. So let's say I will just keep going for 22 centimeters. If I end up with 22.5 or 23, I will just leave it at that. That is absolutely fine. And then we will come back, we will meet together, and we will finish. We will add 1 extra row together on top. So you might have might end up with 1 or 2 centimeters longer than the hood height right here that is written down. Absolutely fine. Do not worry, you will not, it will fit perfectly. So in the very last row, we will all together do a little bit of decreasing at the very end right here. So just 2 seconds. Okay, so we will do a little bit of decreasing right here at the very corner. As you can see, it takes off that very sharp kind of a corner. Okay, so it's just 6 decreases around here at the end, and it looks much nicer, I think. You don't have to do that if you don't mind the sticking really sharp corner. You can just keep going as long as you end up a little bit longer than the actual hood height right here, because this is the bare minimum, okay? Like I said, we take into consideration the thickness of the stitch, plus when you're rolling back the hood, the bottom part right here loses a little bit of height because the top is pushing it down. Anyways, for now, let's just say we keep going for approximately this length that is written down here, perhaps a little bit longer, and then we'll do one extra row together at the very end. And so I have finished my hood. It is high enough for me now. I'm gonna do an extra row there and do a little bit of decreasing now. So if I measure, let me just remind you. Okay, so we want to be definitely at that length or a little bit longer, and then we're gonna have an extra row. So I'm not gonna pull on the hood, I'm just gonna flatten it out when measuring, and I'll measure from the top to the where the seam is, right here where we have started the half double crochet row for the hood. So I'm 22 and a few millimeters in length right now, so when I'm gonna add another row, it's totally going to be approximately 23 with a tiny little bit there. So absolutely perfect. We do want the hood to be a tiny little bit longer than in my chart. So once you have the hood made, what you want to do is you want to grab a stitch marker, put your hood in two, like this, so fold it, and you want to find approximately the very end stitch right here. So whichever way you look at it, it doesn't have to be exact. You can count the stitches if you want, but I'm just gonna mark that stitch that looks like it's in the very corner. So just like that. And now for the last row, we will keep up with our pattern until we have 6 stitches left to our stitch marker. So for now, keep going with your pattern. I'll see you when I have 6 stitches left right here. Okay, so at this point I am 6 stitches away, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to start doing a little bit of decreasing. Now we will be decreasing 2 at a time, so 1 decrease right here, 2 and 3. Now you need to use the same loops as you would usually use for the pattern. So I finished at the back loop, so I'm gonna yarn over, start my first decrease in the bottom loop, go into the bottom loop, yarn over, pull it out and leave it. You have 3 loops on your hook. Then I'm gonna yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, just because this is the way the pattern goes. Okay, I'm gonna pull that out. I have 5 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through all loops. And again, I'm gonna yarn over, and my next stitch should be in the bottom loop. So first in the bottom loop, yarn over, pull it out, leave it, yarn over into the back loop, pull out, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all loops, and one more, bottom loop, yarn over, back loop, yarn over, pull through all loops. Now the stitch that we have, the stitch marker, is going to be a full half double crochet, whichever loop you have to be in. So I should be in the bottom loop. I'm just gonna make 1 half double crochet there, and then the next 6 stitches again are being crocheted together, but this time I'm going to start with the back loop because I have the bottom loop right here. So my next is in the back loop, yarn over, pull it out, leave it, yarn over, go into the bottom loop, pull it out, yarn over and pull through all stitches. You just need to keep your eyes on what loops your half double crochets should be in, and just continue on with the decreasing. And my last one, like this. So I have 1, 1 2 3 decreases, 1 half double crochet, and 1 2 3 decreases. After that I continue on with my pattern till the end of this row. Okay, so done, finished that. Now I can sew my hood together. I'm just gonna pull out enough, leave a tail long enough to sew my hood, and I'm gonna chain 1 and pull my tail out. Okay, so next step is to sew it together. Now you want to place your hoodie the right side up. So this is how my hoodie is going to be, because the buttons are on this side. Okay, so this is the inside of the hood right now. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to sew when you're looking at the inside. So once it's finished, it's going to be like this, but for sewing we pull it out the other way. So grab the middle of your hood and put those two sides together, and I'm just going to whip stitch, or I think it's whip stitch called. Just whip it together. Get my needle and just 1 stitch from one side and 1 stitch from the other side. So the next stitch, next, I'm not gonna pull it hard on it. I'm just connecting it together. So keep going till the end of the hood. Done that, so we want to make a knot at the very end of the hood. So I'm just going to put it in my needle. I'm holding on to that loop. I'm not letting this go, and then go back through the loop with the needle and pull tight. And I have a knot. If you think that is not very good, do it one more time. Go around and back into the loop with the needle and pull tight, and then you will definitely have a good knot there. And I'll just hide the tail in the same seam that I have just made. Just carefully, one way and the other way, and back. And that is done. Now we will finish the whole front of the hoodie, so we don't have to come back for this. Okay, so for that you're gonna turn back out your hood. As you can see, I took off that really sharp corner. It's much more circly now, or round. Okay, so to finish the front, now I do have one sleeve made already. So to finish this, okay, so make sure that your buttonholes are in the correct side. This is my hood. We're going to start at the bottom left, right here, okay? So right here. Grab your yarn, and we will be going around making single crochets. There is no such thing really as how many stitches you have to do in the side of each row or whatever. Just make sure that it looks nice and neat. I probably make approximately 3 single crochets in the side of 2 rows. Okay, so these are 2 rows, and I would be making 1 2 3. And if it gets too busy, you know, if it starts waving or something, I will maybe then for a few rows make 1 and 1 instead of 3. So chain 1 and start your single crochet. So that is 1. I'm gonna go over my tails, 1 right here. So then I have 2 rows right here. I'm gonna go 1 2 and 3. Then again, next 2 rows, gonna go 1 right here, 2 right here, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And we keep doing this all the way around our cardigan or hoodie. Okay, like I said, make sure once in a while put it down, see that it is lying nicely, nice and flat, and then you just keep going. I'll see you at the end right here. So all the way around the hood as well. And I am finished. I'm gonna chain 1, cut my yarn, and now hide my tails. I'm gonna get a sharper needle to hide those tails. There should probably only be a very few of them. Just gonna go in between the stitches. So from the bottom up, and down. So for now, hide your tails. There should be a few on the hood as well, somewhere here, and this is where I have connected my other skein. I need to hide these. Okay, so next step, once you hide, is to sew in those buttons. I'm not gonna show you how I sew them on, but I will show you how to count out where your buttons on the other side should be. So grab as many stitch markers as you have buttonholes. So I need 3. I need to find 2 more. I got them. So just in case you don't have any extra markers lying around, please for now just leave these stitch markers in your sleeve. That might make it a little bit easier for you when we do the sleeves. So perhaps even wait to sew in those buttons if you need to. Okay, so now, so my buttons are going to be on this side right here. So I'm gonna count 4 rows down. So no, let me see, 1, 2, 3. Yes, so our first buttonhole is 4 rows down from where we started. So this is half double crochet row first, second, third. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here in the side of this row, it's going to be my first. And then we have 7 rows in between our buttonholes, unless you have changed it. So whatever number of rows you have in between, you're gonna count down from this stitch marker. So I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row number 8 is going to have a button, so right here. And once more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and row number 8. So this is where my bottom button is going to be. I'll make sure that they actually match. So just like this. So yes, so perfect match. Now I'm just going to sew in the buttons. I'm not gonna show it this time. I make sure that your buttons fit through the buttonhole. It's a little tight for me. I might just change into perhaps these buttons. Yes, these are much better. So I'm just gonna sew in my buttons, and then I'm gonna see you back here, and we will be finishing up with making a sleeve. Okay, so done with that. Most of it is finished. I only need one sleeve. Now you probably need both of them. Okay, let's talk about sleeves. First of all, we are going to look up the length of the sleeve for each size. So as I'm making size 6 to 9 months, the sleeve length is approximately 17.5 centimeters. So once we start, the first few rows are going to be a little bit tricky. I will try to be very, very slow. But once we get into the pattern again, onto the sleeve right here, we will measure the length from the armhole to the end, okay? And we'll keep going with the pattern once we reach the length. So for me is 17.5 centimeters. After that, I will add extra 6 rows to have that extra at the end that I can roll back like that. And we will finish it off with slip stitches right here, so it is not stretching anymore, okay? So the sleeve itself is a little bit wide, but we have again to take into consideration that the stitch is very thick, so it might look wide here, but actually inside it is not that big, okay? So once we start, we get into our stitch count. We will not be doing any decreasing, and we will just keep going all the way to the end, just doing the same, changing the what I want to say is turning around. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, so 17.5 centimeters for my sleeve length. So from under the armhole down to the length is approximately 17.5, and then I just made extra 6 rows for this. Okay, so exactly the same on that one, on this one, from the armhole to approximately 17.5 centimeters, and then 6 rows. In total, I have 23 rows, I think, on this sleeve. I will have to count it again. I would suggest that you write down the number of half double crochets that you have and how many rows you make in the first sleeves, just so you can match the other one absolutely exactly the same. Okay, so to start the sleeve, the first thing that we are going to have a look is, now remember there was one stitch marker that we have put in before we connected. So my stitch marker is on the inside right here. So okay, so that stitch marker will help us out with the direction that we need to go. So if your stitch marker is on the outside of the sleeve, you will connect here just like me, and you will be making your first row on the outside. So everything exactly the same, stitches in the same places. It's just I will be going the other way, okay? So if your stitch marker is on the outside, you connect right here and you make your first row looking on the outside, okay? So you'll be going all the way around. Now because my stitch marker is on the inside, I will be connecting in the same place, but I will just be going the other way. I will be looking at the inside of the sleeve, doing my first row. After that, they will all be the same, okay? So to start, grab your yarn, make a slip knot. Now remember, I have been saying that when we did the chains right here at the bottom, it looks like we have an extra chain, okay? So it does. So it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, so sorry, 1, let me see, so 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So it looks like I have 4. I actually only have 3 right here. 1 is a stitch that we did not take into consideration, okay? So you're gonna have to decide which one of the corner ones you are going to just completely skip, okay? So you should have the same stitches and half double crochets at the bottom right here as you had chains. So I'm just gonna leave this corner stitch out. I'm just gonna completely skip it and go into the next one, okay? Now, connect at the very bottom, approximately in the very middle, wherever you can, okay? So, in the very middle. So, as I had 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, I'm connecting into the second chain, into the very middle chain. Then, pull that chain 1 out, chain 1. And now if you don't need to turn, you just make a half double crochet back into that same stitch, okay? Because I need to go from the inside of the sleeve, I'm gonna turn around and make a half double crochet back into that same stitch right here. Next, I have another chain right here. I'm gonna make another half double crochet. Then we have the half double crochet that we have connected with our yoke. So I have one here, and there will be exactly the same one. Let me see. So this one right here. Okay, so just under your stitch marker from both sides, you make a half double crochet into that stitch, into that half double crochet. Then you have your stitch marker, half double crochet in to that stitch marker. I'm going to take that out. I do not need this anymore. And after the stitch marker, now this is where our pattern starts again. We just need to see, to have a look what we start with. Okay, so we need to make sure which loop we need to start with. So look up, find your next half double crochet that is sticking out. So this is the one right here, and the stitch before gets a bottom loop, half double crochet. If you have another stitch right there, you will start with a back loop, half double crochet. I don't have it, so this is the half double crochet sticking out, and the stitch before is in the bottom loop. So now I can continue with my pattern throughout the sleeve. So start with a bottom loop, back loop, and keep going around the sleeve, making my half double crochets in the pattern. So keep going, and we will finish the pattern at the next stitch marker, okay? Because we don't have half double crochets here, we have no loops to make it in. So get to your next stitch marker, and I'll see you again. Okay, and now I'm at the stitch marker right here, okay? So I'm finishing up my pattern. I do not have any more half double crochets, so no loops. And where the stitch marker is, I'm gonna take this out, just a half double crochet. Then under the stitch marker, you should have a half double crochet where we have connected. Make a half double crochet into that. Then, well, now it looks like I have 2 more stitches left, okay? But I need to skip one. This one was the extra one, so I'm just gonna completely skip that and finish off with a half double crochet. Now it leaves a little hole like this. When I'm hiding my tail, I'm just gonna hide it there and pull this hole together so it will not be there anymore. Okay, so now I have finished. Now you need to use up all the chains that you have right there. So keep going if you have more. At the end of this row, you should have an even number of stitches. I have 34 stitches, and I will keep the same number going all the way down, okay? It is very important that it is an even number. Then you're gonna look up and you find your first stitch, and you're gonna slip stitch into it. So slip stitch, then chain 1 and turn. Make a half double crochet right into the stitch underneath it. So this one right here, right under it. So half double crochet. We will always have 1 full half double crochet into the normal stitch at the bottom. Okay, so this is our seam half double crochet. After that one, we need to start our pattern. And this is once we figure out now what stitch we start, into which loop we start the first stitch, it will always be the same throughout the sleeve. So it might be different for you. Again, find the next half double crochet that is sticking out that you can see. So this one is for me right here. This is the first one, and count back. Okay, so every stitch you count back. I have half double crochet right here, so bottom loop in the stitch before that, and then back loop, then bottom loop, and then back loop, meaning I need to start each row with a back loop, and I will finish into the last stitch with a back loop as well. Now again, depending on how many chains you did, you might have to start with a bottom loop, or like me, with a back loop. So now once we have counted that back, I know that I need to start in the back loop to get my pattern correctly around the sleeve, so nothing changes. So the pattern looks exactly the same everywhere. And I can see once I get to that half double crochet that is sticking out, that the stitch next to it is in the bottom loop. And that is all there is to it. keep going around the sleeve, and again I'll see you closer to the end of this row. Just continue on switching up your loops. Okay, so I'm at the end. I have 2 stitches left. So for me, the second last stitch is going to be the bottom loop, and again I will end with the back loop, half double crochet, just like I started after this half double crochet that is in the very middle. Okay, so once you make that, you start with the back loop if you are like me, and you finish in the stitch in the back loop. Or if you start with the bottom loop, again your very last stitch is going to be in the bottom loop. Now it might look like you have another stitch right here, so this one right here, but if you look really close, you can see this is the stitch that the chain 1 is coming out of this stitch, so you just leave it alone. Okay, this is already taken. It might just look like that because this is a slip stitch, but we do not use that, otherwise we're going to increase. Then you find your very first stitch, this one right here, hook in, make a slip stitch, chain 1 and turn. Half double crochet into the very next stitch, so right there next to it. It might look a tiny little smaller, do not worry, this is definitely the stitch right underneath it to the left. Full half double crochet, and after that you start your pattern again, and it is starting with a back loop for me. So back, bottom, back and bottom. So there's all there is to this sleeve. You only need to get some length on it now. They will all start and finish the same. Make sure that you don't forget what loop you start and finish, because it's quite important, otherwise your stitches right here will look different than the whole hoodie. I don't know how much different. I never tried to make a mistake on purpose, but I think it would be noticeable. Anyways, so for now, keep going back and forth, turning around until you reach your full sleeve length, and then just make extra 5 or 6 rows, whatever you want to do. Okay, whatever extra length that you want to do. I just make 6 rows always. So I will see you when I have the full sleeve length plus the 6 rows. Okay, because there's nothing changes, you just keep going. And so I have finished my sleeve. So if I look to measure from the armhole, I need a sleeve at the length of 17.5 centimeters. So as you can see, 17.5 is approximately here somewhere, and then I just added extra 6 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now to finish off the sleeve, we are just going to do a few slip stitches at the very end of the sleeve, just to make sure that it is not going to stretch too much. So where you finished, you're going to chain 1, and we want to do it on the outside of the sleeve. So I'm looking at it. Okay, so I need to turn. You might not need to do that. So go into the next stitch and slip stitch. Now we will be skipping a couple of stitches while we're doing that, just to tighten it up a little bit at the end. So I'm going to skip the next stitch, go there and make a slip stitch 1 into the next stitch, slip stitch 2, next slip stitch 3, and next slip stitch 4. Next stitch I skip, so I make 4 slip stitches and I skip 1 stitch, and then again I make 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and after that I skip 1 stitch. So I'm gonna skip this one and into the next one. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Try not to make it too tight. It just needs to, perhaps not just, we just want to lose all that stretchiness. Okay, so 4 and skip, and 1, 2, 3, 4, skip, and just keep going around the sleeve. It doesn't really matter how many stitches you get to skip. We just want to kind of skip a few of them, and we'll see where we will end up at the end. So I have a couple of stitches left. I get to skip, and then I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and I'll do the 4. Okay, and I'm all the way around the sleeve by now, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 1, and cut my yarn, and I am all finished. Now you excuse me, most likely have one more sleeve to do, so try to do exactly the same. Okay, so both of my sleeves have the same number of stitches and the same number of rows. Just gonna hide my tails and I will be finished. I'm gonna go in between those stitches. Like this. Cut off, and I have one more tail. Now I'm gonna try to do a strategic tail hiding right here. Now in the place where I skipped that one stitch, okay, it looked like we have an extra one. It leaves a tiny little hole. So what I want to do when I'm hiding this tail, I want to pull this together so that the hole is gone. Okay, so I'm just gonna go right under that hole, kind of pull it together like this, and then back, and then one more time, just to make sure that it's not gonna open. And that is it. I'm gonna cut this off, roll back my sleeve a little bit, and I am finished with my hoodie. Let us have a look what I have. So this is a little long, and this is how my hoodie looks like. I am hoping that it all worked out for you well. It is very soft, just as I have expected it to be. Very nice to touch, very interesting looking. Not a stitch that I would usually use, but for something like this, for babies, it is absolutely perfect. Now, I am all done. You have one more sleeve to go. Let me know in the comments what you think of the stitch. Was it very difficult? All of these kind of feedbacks help me decide on what stitches I want to use for crochet, for making my cardigans, and which ones I should stay away from. You know, if you find this difficult, I might just have to pick easier stitches next time, and perhaps something that is a bit more easy for the eye to see, you know, where what stitch is, because this kind of, to me, it looks a bit like a mess all over the place. Okay, so you can't really make out what is where, but it makes up this kind of interesting looking pattern. Okay, talking too much. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.